Coming up on Colonial Sports Center, the women's soccer team opens their season at Duquesne. The men's soccer team opens here at home at the North Athletic Complex. We have a new segment called Colonial Spotlight, and the women's volleyball team opens with the RMU Duquesne Invitational. It's Colonial Sports Center, and it's next.
Time has come to make things right. You and I must fight for our rights. You and I must fight to survive.
Nothing to get my blood pumping like a little bit of Muse. Welcome, everybody, to another season of Colonial Sports Center. I am Chris Baginski, alongside Ed Albert. And Ed, exciting times for Colonial Athletics, but also an exciting time for the show. Why don't you tell us about it?
It is an exciting time for the show, Chris, because we have a new segment here on Colonial Sports Center, and it's called the Game of the Week, in which we highlight a specific team on campus by breaking down a key matchup from the week. Also, we dig deeper into that team by selecting a player for being outstanding off the field, court, or ice, and we have a word with the head coach. For our first week, we've selected women's soccer, and Chelsea Fry will join us later with the story. And now if we take a look here at the last week's results, we see men's soccer was in action against UC Davis. They dropped 3-0. And then, Chris, our women's volleyball team went up for the Nittany Lion Invitational.
Yeah, and they faced Pitt, Penn State, who are defending national champions in volleyball, and also Buffalo. So it was a tough test for them, really, and it was just a way to gain some valuable experience rather than a result for the standings.
Yeah, that is a great point to make, Chris, and as well, Missouri State is what the field hockey team had in store, and they dropped there. They took one on the chin 7-1. So hopefully we'll see some rebounding here by our Colonial teams, Chris. It'd be nice to see them come back.
I'm sure they will. It's the conference season, which is always the most important, of course, and that'll be coming up. In addition to the women's soccer team's clash against Duquesne at Rooney Field, the men's soccer team took on the Pitt Panthers last Tuesday at the North Athletic Complex, and our cameras were there. Also, the volleyball team took to the court for the first time in the Duquesne Robert Morris Invitational, and we have highlights of the Friday evening session against Bowling Green. We'll take a quick break and be back with some highlights of the beautiful game, as well as a recap of what happened on the gridiron.
Mr. Producer, you had 2 late tape rolls and the audio was late 4 times or so. Prime Cuts definitely got the best of you tonight.
Prime Cuts? Prime Cuts? Prime Cuts Theater? They are who we thought they were! That's why we went live! If you want to crown them the best show on campus, then crown them! But they are who we thought they were! We let them off the hook!
Mr. Spencer, one question, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why are you shirtless?
Good question. Spencer out.
So for Chris Baginski, I'm Ed Albert. We'll see you right back here next week on Colonial Sports Center. Good night, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
And that's a wrap.
Anything is possible!
At least he kept his pants on this time.
Hi, I'm Chris Walker, producer of RMU Live. Here at RMU Live, we take bringing you world, national, and local headlines very seriously, but even more so than those headlines, we need something else, viewers like you. So with just a 20-minute donation of your time, you can watch students present the news from right here on campus. So tune in, RMU Live, Tuesdays at 5:30.
Hi there, I'm Johan Blitzkrieg, host of Prime Cuts Theater.
For some people may call you.
Bliss Geiger. Brian Spencer. How's it going?
May I continue?
Well, it depends, like the underwear.
On what?
Depends on whether you could tell this wonderful viewing audience to watch Prime Cuts Theater, midnight, Fridays and Saturdays.
Ooh, you know what else you should tell them about? That good-looking Canadian guy that's on there, eh?
This is true.
Who are you? You guys have got to be kidding me. You know what? I'm done. Done. Screw this. I'm done.
Where are you going, Blitzcraggle?
Hey, Hoser, you know how I know you're mad? Because your head glows like a moon ring.
The Colonials went into the season opener versus Virginia Military Institute with a clean slate, looking to rebound from last year's 5-6 record. Unfortunately, this season did not get off on the right foot, with the VMI taking down RMU with a late touchdown in the fourth quarter. Now, the key to this loss was a blocked extra point attempt by Garrett Clausen, which allowed VMI to take the lead with their point after instead of just tying the score. The final score ended up 14-13, and the Colonials' next game will be against the Bucknell Bison. Now, if we take a look here at the scoreboard, we'll take a look at the key facts here of what this game really boiled down to. You see the total offensive yards, VMI was dominant there, but the passing yards, the Colonial passing game really was had a very good day, and hopefully we'll see that continue on into this season as conference play opens up here in 2 weeks. And take a look at the rushing yards there is where the Virginia really owned the day, was almost 300 yards on the ground. So there's your telltale sign. Going to have to shore up that run D for the Colonials if we want to be competitive.
Good luck getting 297 yards in one game, or in 2 games, let alone one. Very impressive. 4 seniors, 1 junior. Throw in a gaggle of freshmen and sophomores, and you have the makeup of this year's men's soccer team. Their opponent, or their home opener, was a tough test against the Pitt Panthers. But what was the result? Let's take to the pitch. For you fans of the Premiership, feel free to whistle the Match of the Day theme here, because it's men's soccer, and the Colonials huddling up, showing a sign of team unity. Beautiful thing, but would it be enough to win this match? We'll find out, but it apparently was enough for a goalkeeping clinic from Toba Balaji. Take a look at this.
It says you shall not get a goal.
Indeed, twice. Chris Wilcox denied repeatedly on that attempt, and it was scoreless heading into the second half. With Kyle McIver with a good through ball into Sean Riley, looking to put a tally on the board. David Torrance attempts the header just a bit too late. It would remain scoreless until an indirect free kick sets up Ryan Broad off the deflection. It is Pitt leading at this point in the game 1-0. Still a reasonable score. The Colonials could hope to get back. That is, of course, at least until this play. A long ball to Mike McDade. He scores, and he celebrates like he scored the second goal for Arsenal at Anfield in 1989, but he only scored the second goal for Pitt at North Athletic Complex in 2009.
Almost the same, though.
Almost. Not quite, though. But the scoring did not stop for Pitt. Lovely back heel from Matt Baker, the playmaker, and Alex Fischetti with an easy goal. But Zach Matthews, the goalkeeper for Pitt, denied the clean sheet as Sam Colissimo, set up by Kyle McIver. Brilliant shot. Pitt goes on to win 3-1, but take a bow, son, because that was a brilliant goal. The only tally for the Colonials. Here you can see the statistics. Shots on target, rather even, 8-9. Pitt with a slight advantage, but 14 fouls to 9. The Colonials had more than the Panthers, and one of those fouls set up the indirect free kick, which led to the first goal. So fouls playing a big part in this matchup.
Coming off a season-ending defeat in the NEC tournament to the St. Francis Red Flash, the women's volleyball team was eager to put that loss behind them. And they did just that on August 28th by taking down Loyola 3-1. Later on that same evening, they took on the Bowling Green Falcons. So let's stroll on over to the Sewell Center to see if they could close out the doubleheader with a victory. All right, so we're going to come up here. The Falcons and the Colonials going at it. This is the second game for the Colonials in the 2009 Duquesne Robert Morris Invitational, bringing some women's teams in here to play. So the first set, this is going to be Amanda Graham, and she's going to team up with Amanda Craig, her Amanda counterpart, to get the kill right here. One of Graham's 7 kills on the evening, and the Colonials start out well and take the first set 25-22. But moving on to the second set, it would be all downhill from there, and that's Emily Kauth dinging one over there for one of her 11 kills, and she was second on the team in kills, and you're wondering, well, who was first? And, well, right there it is. It's Corey Domick, who led the team with 17 kills. Bowling Green rolls in the second set, 25-23. And then in the third set, it's Charlotte Drabant, who's going to be set up very nicely by Alyssa Bennett, and she finishes it off, but Bowling Green would not allow that to be the last nail in their coffin. as Caitlin Jackson responds right here with a nice kill. And then it's going to be later on in that same set, Jackson, she's going to have some great net presence here, and she had 7 kills on the night as Bowling Green takes that one 25-19. And now in the 4th set, RMU with their back against the ropes. You're thinking they're out of it, but right there, Amanda Graham with her leadership keeps it in here and converts. And then they get a nice little break here by Cassie Burning. Bowling Green puts this one into the net, and it looks like it could be turning around for the Colonials, but it was too little too late for the Colonials as Kauth right there finishes it off for the last set and the match. They take the last set 25-15, and if you take a look here at the scoreboard, Bowling Green wins the match 3-1 in sets. Your top performers there is Amanda Craig and Corey Domick. RMU would recover in the Invitational on the next day, August 29th, by posting wins against Radford 3-1 and Howard 3-0.
After the break, we debut a brand new segment called the Game of the Week.
But Chris, what exactly is the Game of the Week? I'm confused.
Well, I could explain it, or
Please.
you could just stay tuned and you'll find out yourself. You know
Yeah,
what?
like I said, I like that idea.
Okay, let's go with that. See you in a bit.
We train terribly hard in order to provide you with the best show possible. Colonial Sports Center. You ready? Here at Colonial Sports Center, we cover multiple Division I NCAA sports like football, lacrosse, rowing, and ping pong. Colonial Sports Center. You ready? Here at Colonial Sports Center, we train terribly hard in order to provide you with the best show possible. Colonial Sports Center. You ready?
Hi everybody, I'm Chelsea Fry. We have a new segment here on Colonial Sports Center called Game of the Week, where we focus on a team and a player from that team on our Colonial Spotlight. We'll get to the Spotlight in a moment, but first, here's highlights of the women's soccer matchup against Duquesne. Let's take a look at the RMU women's soccer team taking on Duquesne at the Duquesne Classic, hosted at Arthur J. Rooney Field. Let's take a look at the first half. Duquesne dominates the play early in the game. The ball's going to go over to Morgan Herbert, and she's going to drive one right to the net. And it's going to sneak right past goalie Olin, giving Duquesne an early 1-0 lead. Number 15's out there celebrating with her team. At center field, they look pretty happy early in the game, but will this happiness last throughout the rest? RMU is going to lose possession of the ball in the attacking zone, and the ball's going to go over to Samantha Kaiser. Kaiser's going to drive it hard to the net, and it's going to find the top left-hand corner. What a drive from number 18, now giving Duquesne a 2-0 lead. Let's go on to the second half. This half, we're going to start off with a free kick from Duquesne's Kristen Vinicki. She takes it right over the RMU wall, and it's going to be mishandled by Olin. Annie Reed's going to pick it up and send it right to the back of the net, giving Duquesne a 3-0 lead, wrapping this game up. RMU's next game will be at George Washington at 4 o'clock on Friday. Let's look at the scoreboard. Morgan Herbert, Samantha Kaiser, and Annie Reed all had goals for Duquesne, and Robert Morris had none. They had 4 shots on goal, though, and Duquesne had 10. Both teams ended with 4 fouls.
the game, and how you play it. All about control, and if you can take it. All about your debt, if you can pay it. It's all about pain, and who's gonna make it. I am the game, you don't wanna play me. I am.
Well, she is a senior and she's been doing very well. Okay, 3-point something, a grade point average. She's going to graduate on time. Terrific student, good motivator and leader also for the younger players in the classroom and outside of the classroom. She's from Canada, originally from Toronto area. She is a really organized person in her classroom and with her studies and her time management. Well, she's a very tenacious player. She really challenges for every ball defensively. Very good head balls. She challenges for the balls in the air. Terrific vision. Distribution of the ball is great. She sees players on the opposite side. Very good speed, so she can change the point of attack. But she also works on a defensive end on the other side of the ball. So she's all the way around a good player.
Well, my dad actually played when he was younger, and I kind of just followed in his footsteps. And I've been playing since I was like 12. And I just loved it and fell in love with it, and have been playing ever since. I'm a major sports management, and I knew that I wanted to do something with sports and the business side of it, so it's kind of a perfect match. I hope to continue doing something with soccer, whether it's back in Canada or here. I just love sports in general. Well, I came on my recruiting trip and I fell in love with the city of Pittsburgh. It's absolutely beautiful, and I'm so happy that I have the opportunity to be here. And I'm from Canada, so being in the States to play soccer is just a dream come true.
Starting to deserve this. Leading on my conscience a wall. Blood is like wine, unconscious all the time. If I had it all again, I'd change it all.
Coming up next, it's the artist formerly known as the Fae 555 and so on.
Now, it's got a different name, but it's basically the same thing, but this time with 98% less unnecessary explosions.
Join us, why don't you? Please.
Right down to football. Bryce, a whole lot going on this season. But I can't go back now. And I doubt that our Dean Taylor.
That is great.
Colonial Sports Center. You ready?
Shut up! Things have been a little stressful around here lately, and the Colonial thought it'd be a good idea to do some Tai Chi.
This week in Colonial Sports, the water words.
Next. She just looks amazing. I can't believe how did she lose all that weight after I am? Oh, excuse me. Today on Colonial Sports Center, we'll have an interview with
Next.
Joe.
Next.
Colonial Sports Center. You ready?
Our producer might spell it Showstoppers, but it is in fact the Showstoppers. Ed Albert, take it away.
It's number 5, Chris, and we're going to go back to the RMU Duquesne Invitational, and it's Amanda Graham with some help from Amanda Craig. And right there, one of Graham's 7 kills on the evening. Unfortunately, they would lose 3-1 to Bowling Green.
She gets by with a little help from her friends. Toba Balaji needs no help, however. 1 shot, 1 save, 2 shot, 2 save. Well done, Toba. Soon they will be throwing Toba parties in your honor.
Toba. But Chris, it's number 3, and this is number 12 for Duquesne, Samantha Kaiser. She's going to lay this one up and over the goaltender for RMU, Jessica Olin. Duquesne rolls 3-0. Kaiser, very impressive, Chris.
The BBC's John Motson would say, a brilliant strike for a brilliant goal. Now on to number 2, Bowling Green versus RMU in the Invitational. Caitlin Jackson set up by Allison Kearney. Brilliant kill. And Bowling Green would go on to win that one 3-1. Brilliant!
And number 1, Chris, well, it might not be from the Colonials, but Matt Baker right there setting up Alex Fischetti. Take another look off the heel, and if Fischetti doesn't put that one in, then he should be kicked off the team because that's wide open net. Beautiful pass. Pit rolls 3-1, and that is your first installment of Showstoppers.
I like the way that you enunciated stoppers. Well, let's take a look at the upcoming volleyball schedule. The Best Western Falcon Plaza Invitational, in which our Colonials will be taking on Northern Iowa, Wisconsin Green Bay, and Bowling Green. And another one of those invitationals following the one that they just had at Penn State.
And maybe they'll be able to overcome that loss to Bowling Green that we just saw. Maybe they'll be able to get some revenge.
We can only hope.
And moving on now, Chris, is football. We have the upcoming game this week, of course, against Bucknell. And then the next 2 home games we have here is Dayton and Bryant. Dayton, we played last year, a 31-14 loss in Dayton. And then we open NEC play against Bryant here at the Joe Law, and that is also homecoming. So a couple of action-packed games there, Chris.
Or pack-actioned games, even.
No.
Oh, okay. Anyway, on to women's soccer. Friday, September 11th, that would actually be tomorrow. They'll be in Washington, D.C., taking on George Washington. And then Sunday at 1, they will take on Georgetown, that other school from the nation's capital, also in Washington, D.C.
They must not have lights there, Chris, because that could have been on Sunday night.
Indeed, it could have.
We'll go Sunday afternoon instead.
Traditional time.
Of course. And then moving on, field hockey, they were picked to finish 7th here in the NEC. They have coming up on the 18th a game here to open their season at home against Ohio, and then Georgetown down in D.C. on the Sunday the 20th. So a couple of big games coming up for the field hockey ladies as well.
That September 18th game will also be streamed live on RMUcolonials.com. Me and Ed with the call on that one, I believe. Friday, September 11th at 3, again tomorrow, they'll face LaSalle at the North Athletic Complex. And then Sunday, next week's game of the week, they will take on at noon UW Green Bay. That's also at the North Athletic Complex. So come on by and support them. Have some of that footy before you have some American footy back.
I hear actually Brett Favre's going to suit up for UW Green Bay, Chris. Going to sport the number 4.
Really? I thought that he was actually going to suit up for the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Yeah, well,
that's just me.
Unfortunately not. But you can't just watch Colonial Sports Center, Chris, so tune on into RMU Live on Tuesdays. It's produced by the great Chris Walker. It is your campus, local, and world news headquarters right here on RMU-TV Channel 98, and catch it over on the website at rmulive.com, where RMU Live is always on.
And we're not promoting that just because me and Ed are both on the show, I assure you. What do Johan Blitzkrieg, Brian Spencer, Ron McKenzie, and Michael Gabriel all have in common? They're all on Prime Cuts Theater every Friday and Saturday at midnight. Tremendous show here on RMU-TV, and arguably the finest.
And also arguably one of the finest shows, Chris, is Colonial Sports Radio. So don't forget to listen to that on RMU Radio as well.
We don't have a fancy graphic for that, but, you know, it's good enough. You know, I think it's definitely something that you should invest some good time in and all that. It's a good compliment to
this
Colonial
show here,
Sports
yeah.
Center.
Pleases your ears as well.
Indeed, and you know, it was a good first show, I think, Ed. What
It
do you
was,
think?
Chris. Only good, more things to come as we got football rolling in. But just like to say thanks to Marty Galosi and the athletic department, all the sports teams and coaches for giving us access into your teams. Couldn't put this show on without you, and of course our TV ones that help out as well.
So for Ed Albert, I'm Chris Baginski. Thank you all for watching.
Good night, Brazil.
Good night, everybody.